On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt Nick will begin getting ready for Andor Season 2 with a debate on Star Wars being better without the Jedi. Is it? Tune in to hear the case for or against this take. Is The Mandalorian great because it mostly avoids the Jedi? Or how about Andor essentially ignoring the Jedi and the Force altogether? Is this what makes them successful, or what makes them hard to watch for certain fans? We ask the hard questions, so stay tuned if you're ready for them. Of course, the show will end with the question of the week responses and the latest round of top 5 Star Wars fan artist features. Punch it, Chewie.
Hey, now, buddy, we're here. We're in our own little world there while the intro was going. So welcome to a new episode of the Star Wars Time Show. Woot, woot, woo. That's right. Every Wednesday, 5:30 as close as we can get. YouTube.com/Star Wars Time Show. We are here and we are full of joy. And we are ready to talk Star Wars. But before we do that, as always, we're going to go ahead and take a tour around the land of pop culture to see what's hot, what's not, what you should be watching or not watching in the theaters and at home. Chat's looking a little quiet these days. I don't necessarily blame you. I wish everyone could have been privy to our post show last week, because as soon as we went off, I was like, man, we fucking bombed. We bombed that segment on light side versus dark side. Absolutely tanked. I mean, you all, the people in the live stream, they're like, blah, 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 the whole show. They're like, blah, 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 blah. We bring up that segment and it was like, pew.
Hey, sometimes AI misses on what they think is going to be good.
Well, guess what? We're back again with another AI suggested topic. That's this week. That's right. We are going to discuss or debate. You never know. I think I know where young Nick's going to go, but we're going to debate. Is Star Wars better without the Jedi? What do you think about that? Is Star Wars better when the Jedi aren't the main focus, or they can't be pulled in to save the day? We do have some programs that people have enjoyed in the past that did not feature Jedi. So we figured this would have been a nice little lead into next week, which is going to be our pregame for Andor Season 2. Then the week after that, it is time to dive in to what may be the Star Wars series that breaks me on content creation. You might ask why. Well, we'll be talking about that in a few segments. We've got the runtimes for Andor Season 2 episodes, and they are obscene. Especially when you consider we're getting 3 a week. It's like we've been sitting here pounding our heads like, come on, give us longer Skeleton Crew, give us longer Acolyte, give us longer Kenobi. And they're like, fuck you, eat shit, die, suck on a turd. Then Gilroy comes around and is like, watch this shit. Not only am I going to give you adult length episodes, I'm going to jam 3 of them down your throat every Tuesday night. So be careful what you ask for. Like I'm telling you, I think everyone is under the illusion that this is going to be awesome watching a 2+ hour movie a week. And I don't know. Like I honestly am freaking out, man. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's what I was not hoping for. When it comes to runtime.
It's heavy.
If we're doing all 12 weeks, it's the greatest thing ever. It's like I said.
If it's one a week, it's not bad.
It's what we want, right? It's adult TV. It's 40+ minutes, sometimes 50+ minutes. But man, dude, come on. Tuesday nights are going to go till like fucking midnight, 1 in the morning. Then I'm going to be up fucking Wednesday at 3 in the morning just to get shit ready for the show. It took me an hour just to get screenshots from a 30-minute program, Nick. Do the math. We're talking about 5 days at this point to get screenshots, okay?
Rip that shit off the internet and give it to ChatGPT and tell it to take pictures.
I really wish I could just feed in my Disney Plus account and be like, hey, chat, come on, we're friends. Can you just take a screenshot like every 5 milliseconds or something? Who knows? Maybe our buddy Opus can do that for you. If you haven't figured out, Nick and I, we are, at least in our Star Wars time show life, we are fully engaged with our digital companions. We probably couldn't produce a show without them at this point in time. So thank you.
Yeah,
we speak your names. They did well for us last week on the shorts. Shorts typically stay under a G, but we had a string of G plusers.
Yeah. Thanks
to our AI video editor that we hired a year and a half ago. All right, that's enough bullshit. It's Ask Us Anything time. Yeah, Divided, I thank you. It's a shame. Like, this is where I'm really starting to consider, should I keep doing what I do with Star Wars time? Because the Andor experiment is something where it's like, I know if I was just a Star Wars fan, I'd be like, sweet. Cool.
Well, here you go, Matt. Once we kill the site, you don't have to worry about taking screenshots anymore. You just watch that shit and then talk about it.
Possibly. I'm still going to need them if I make videos. That's the problem, Nick. So I thank you for thinking that my life was going to get easier in 26, but I still need them because I feel compelled to make breakdowns, and we use screens for our talking points. So who knows? I know I'm just bitching.
At least, yeah, you could reduce at least.
Yeah, I'll move on. We'll figure something out. That's right, Palanca. I'm with you. Like, all you non-content creators, I'm with you. This probably would be something I'd be applauding, but right now I'm bitching about it, and I'm sorry to be pissing on your parade today. All right, but before we get into that, where you really get to start hearing me whining like a dog, let's do a little Ask Us Anything, all right? We put it up on our socials. This week I kind of forgot to do today's post. I don't know what's going on with Instagram, but when I post a question on Mondays, only one person sees it, and that's our buddy Scion. Outside of that, it doesn't make it to our 1,600 followers, because whatever. But that's where you're going to interact with these questions. In our Discord, on Instagram, YouTube even, get some. All right? So here we go. Let's see what they had to say, or what they want to know this week, Nick. There's not a ton. Kind of bummed me out, because sometimes Ask Us Anything is quite entertaining. Let's just say Spencer is on an F, marry, kill spree, so we got plenty of those to get to. Divided, you had to delete Instagram? What happened? Like, is this like you taking a stance against Meta, or something else happened? I'm interested to know what's going on with that. All right, let me get the questions pulled up here, and then we'll get moving. To save time. That's commendable. Smart. Of you. That is commendable, Divided.
Smart.
Hey, how you people hearing Nick on the stream, by the way? Is he coming through all right? Anyone that's...
If I'm not, there ain't shit I can do about it.
Yeah, I'm not saying we're going to fix it. I'm just saying, can you guys at least hear him? Okay, he's good. All right. We good. I probably should not practice guitar before we do this, because I'm probably just hard of hearing right now. But when Nick signed on, I'm like, dude, you on a fucking submarine or what? All right, here we go. First one coming from League of Extraordinary Sixers. This is coming in through YouTube. YouTube, we do post the question to our members. That way they'll at least be notified of it. It's not necessarily a perk since we post the question everywhere else, but at least you'll be notified. And speaking of that, members, and anyone considering becoming a member, myself and AI, Scott and Sally, have been hard at work this week and over the weekend cranking out non-stop Andor character deep dives. So if you want to start getting ready for Andor Season 2, even if you watch Season 1, even if you're a casual fan, make sure to hit up youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show and check out all of our deep dives. I think today we put out Lonnie Young, Clea Marquis. Yesterday we did Brasso. Over the weekend, Deidre Miro. Come on, let's go. Cassian will be coming up tomorrow. We got Venta. We got Arvel, Cinta, Wilman. We're going to have them all done before the 22nd. So make sure to check that shit out on our channel. All right, Nick, here's what League wants to know. Predictions to date, if any, regarding Star Wars Celebration. Have we seen it all? And it's a bust.
I mean, there's almost assuredly going to be at least some small like reveals or secret drops that happen at Celebration.
I'm going against that. I honestly think what you see is what you're going to get, my friends.
Yeah. I mean, it may not be like new content, but I feel like, like a panel or something like that in terms of speaking to Visions creators, since it's going to be in Japan, and a lot of season 1 Visions, all of season 1 Visions was done by Japanese creators. So maybe something like that. Special guest appearances, I assume, are going to happen at some point. So, but in terms of, like big content drops, I don't expect them to be like, guess what? Here's a panel on the Rey movie, or here's a panel with Simon Kinberg on his trilogy. Like, I don't think it's going to be anything like that. But there'll probably be a little something in there. Yeah, see, I'm even going to go further into the negative than Nick. I'm pretty sure everything they've posted in terms of panels you can sign up for, that's what you're going to get. So you're getting nothing new. You're getting nothing new. And I think this is the first time since Celebration was a thing that there's literally going to be 0 new announcements. You might get follow-up, but you ain't getting anything new. It's not like 2 years ago when they're like, we're making the Rey movie, we're making Dawn of the Jedi, we're making a Mando movie. Nah. Ain't happening. I think the most fans can ask for is a new sizzle reel for Mandalorian and Grogu. That's about it. I don't even think it's going to be publicly released. I think it's going to be kind of one of those things that Nick and I saw way back when in 2019. When the Mandalorian wasn't even a thing yet, it wasn't out yet. There was a panel there, and we got to see like a B-roll with some sizzle included in it. I think that's it. I mean, what, like Nick said, there's going to be a Visions panel. Sweet, we already know Visions is coming out. Okay, cool. All right, we'll listen to the creators. Who gives a shit? It's not new. We know about it. Andor, they'll probably preview the first 3 episodes, which we're all going to get to watch 2 days later after Celebration. And the video game that was going to be the surprise, guess what? We had leak screens last week, and we got a news post this week giving us the title. So at this point in time, the only thing we're going to be waiting for is the release date and what the updated current visuals look like. So I am, as I said a few weeks ago, I don't want anyone to feel bad about this trip because you're getting to go to Japan. That is what I would focus on. I would focus on what can I do and see in Japan versus worrying about what you're going to see or miss at Celebration. I mean, at this point, Nick, if you and I are going, I'd be like, you know what, dude, let's just pop in just to like say we showed up, and then let's spend the rest of the week traveling around Japan, Tokyo, stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, that's typically like, I've only been to one Celebration, and here's what I'll say. Like, the panels are really fun, but like outside of the panels, like, walking around the show floor it's
good for about 2 hours.
Yeah, like you do it once and then it's kind of the same. So take advantage of where you are for sure. Like it's a rare opportunity.
Hit the side rooms too. Like there's a lot of side rooms that just do random shit, not the big panels. I would go to, I don't know what they call it, like the Galaxy stage where they'll have the main host. Like that's going to be more fun than most of everything at Celebration. Now, who knows what it's going to be like over in Japan? Maybe they're going to tweak it a little bit. I have a feeling it's going to be a little more artsy-fartsy and cultured because that's just what Japan is. But it's just like, in terms of getting Star Wars news that's going to move the meter or make you go, oh, fudge, I wouldn't count on it. I wouldn't. I'm pretty sure their loads have been ejaculated prior to Celebration Japan.
Yeah, we'll see. Palanca thinks that they might announce a new mainline animated series, which would be all. I mean, if that happens, I'd be all for it. I do think.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not like being anti. I don't want anything new. I'm just trying to temper expectations. I honestly think this is going to be the least news-centric, newsworthy Celebration in quite some time.
Could be.
All right. Hey, our boy B-Mad's in there. He's throwing around fat stacks of cash. So, we always cater to people that pay. We are shills after all. So, B-Mad's saying, do people really stay at Celebrations all day? Bro, I'm talking like
before you got into this new panel lottery shit and they let people line up, some people would be at Celebration for 24 to 36 hours straight.
I remember when you were at the TLJ one.
Yeah.
And that one was rough.
A mess.
Because there were people sleeping on the floors and like for panel lines and everything. Yeah, it was a tough one.
Yeah, it was insane. It was, I mean, I'm telling you, if you wanted to do anything, and remember, we didn't even know what Ryan's movie was titled at that point in time. So that's what Celebration used to be. I went in that Celebration. We knew Rian Johnson was making a movie. We didn't know the title. And at Celebration, you got the title and you got a trailer. That's what I'm talking about. You're not going to get those pops at Celebration Japan.
Yeah. I mean, since there's really like no large scale new content coming out, it's just hard to do stuff like that. Like if you knew, like we already know the Mandalorian and Grogu's title. We've already seen footage from Mando and Grogu from other things before. So it's probably not going to be like, even for Chicago, it was still, episode 9. And then you got Rise of Skywalker. You got the reveal that Ian was going to be there and everything like that. Like, this one's going to be a little bit probably, not as heavy. It's just, they don't just have that kind of content coming out right now.
Yep. And don't get down. Like, listen, if you've never been to a Celebration, this is going to be your first one. I think it's going to be pretty fucking special. I mean, let's be real. It's in Tokyo, right? It's in Japan. I mean, that's one country I'd want to visit. I don't know about this day and age, leaving the country, if you can get back in based on your immigration status or your tweets. So I think I'm going to keep my happy ass in the shitty, cold, freezing Midwest for the time being. But I hope everyone going has a great time. If you are a listener of ours, we'd love to see some shots while you're over there. And when you get back, we'd love for you to be in the stream sharing what you saw and what you thought. B-Matt asking, you think Vision sneak? Yeah, maybe they'll get to watch one of the shorts or a part of a short at best. But yeah. And it's like, oh, well, maybe they'll get to see Tales of the Underworld. It's like, okay, cool. We're going to see it in 2 weeks. Like, okay. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks for news, but I do think Celebration Japan is going to kick ass just because of the location. All right.
Yeah,
that went.
I think the location is key.
Way longer than I thought. We are gas bags. Okay, next one here. These are easy. Barron's Black Series. Harrison Ford, Ewan McGregor, Pedro Pascal. Screw, marry, kill. Nick, you're first. Out of these 3 gentlemen, who do you want to marry? Who do you want to screw? Who do you want to kill?
I will start off with my kill, and it's hard because all these are awesome.
Who's he going to kill?
But I would do what Anakin Skywalker could not and kill Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, no, dude. Poor Ewan. I think he just had a kid.
Man. I'm talking about his Star Wars personality.
Oh, okay. All right.
And look, Vader ends up getting him in the end anyway, but he becomes more powerful. I know that if I kill Obi, he becomes more powerful than I can ever imagine.
I like
anyway.
that spin. All right.
So he's still going to be around.
All right.
I'm going to bed down Han Solo. And
you like that old man meat, huh?
Yeah. And I'm going to marry Din Djarin because he seems like a very good person.
Did you see his knee-high boots he wore for The Last of Us press tour, dude?
No. I have.
Oh my God! Look it up. He's literally, I don't know if it's a kilt or just a straight up skirt, but he's got like black knee-high boots. It's like, dude, I love Pedro. All right.
Pedro's the best, dude.
He really is. I love.
Oh, I see.
You see what I'm talking about, dude? Like that is that is a fit.
There we go.
Okay. All right. Here's mine. I'm not putting him in their Star Wars persona. So I'm killing Harrison because he's in his 80s already. All right. So he's lived some life. So I'm killing that guy. I'm probably gonna marry Pedro. Just because I really think he is who he is every time he's on screen. He just loosely plays another character or version of himself, which means I'm going to go ahead and play Hide the Salami with Ewan. All right, that was a good one. Those are nice and quick. Look, Divided is definitely marrying Pedro. I can respect that. All right, next one here, and Ask Us Anything. Coming from Divided, who rizzed up our Discord with her pink. You see this, Nick? I'm not sure how she did it, but she like juiced the channel somehow.
She's asking, did you watch?
Oh, she might have like nitroed or something.
Yeah,
like
she
you
like
can like
boosted some shit.
Yeah, you can do something like that.
Look at that. Is that she got like a Mon Mothma? She's getting ready for
It
Andor,
does.
I
It's
think,
animated
right?
on
All right. So, Nick, she wants to know, did you watch White Lotus season 3? If so, what did you think of this season and the finale?
We have not watched White Lotus any of the seasons, but we are aware of how good it is. So that may be on the list of things to.
Yeah,
to check out.
I hate to echo young Nick here, but I'm in the same boat. We are playing catch up. We've caught up the Wheel of Time, so we're right up to whatever this week's episode is going to be. Is that a Thursday drop, Nick? Because I haven't been watching on time. I've been okay. I had to watch the most recent episode twice because I fell asleep again. But I am figuring out if I don't fall asleep, the episodes are a lot better. Okay, so anyone that has watched TV by falling asleep in the middle of it, you can't just pick it up and think that you're actually in the episode. Okay, it doesn't work that way.
Just restart.
Yeah, you got to rewatch it. But I watched the episode you and League were getting off on a few weeks ago. Was it Ruidia or whatever?
Yeah, Ruidia.
That was amazing. Like that
was such a cool episode.
Everything, man. Because you know me, I'm a lore dog. Like I love lore, and I felt that did such a good job at showing Rand's lineage throughout the Aiel clan and how the Aiel clan is actually split into 3 since the original Aiel that worked for the what are they called, the Aja?
Yeah, not the Aja, the White Tower, the Aes Sedai.
Yeah, the Aes Sedai. There you go.
Aes Sedai.
There you go. The Black Aja, those are the bad Aes Sedai, right?
Those are the bad, bad ones. Those are the bad
But
ones.
I don't know. I thought it was cool. I really like getting that history and how there was this race of people that essentially just existed to serve the Aes Sedai and protect essentially 2 of their relics, and how one faction broke off but kept falling the way of the leaf. They became the Tinkers. The other one broke off and they remained Aiel, but they're the fighting Aiel. And then you have the Gen Aiel, which are the core that never broke their pledge. So it's deep, man. Like holy shit, that's a deep universe. I've even been YouTubing it recently.
Oh yeah, I mean this is 15 books long, so there's a lot of content in there for sure.
It's hard for me not to just jump on one of the this is the book and this is the show videos, because like I don't want to ruin it for me since I've never read the book, but it's getting close because I do love high fantasy. I'm sorry, like I don't know if I like it more than sci-fi fantasy Star Wars, but shit like Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time, Rings of Power, man. Come on.
Yeah.
It's good shit.
Always good stuff.
So we'll get there. I do have White Lotus on the schedule, but currently, as we're waiting for Wheel of Time to come back, we did go back and we have started Paradise on Hulu, which is quite good.
Nice.
Okay. Next question here, coming from our boy Kramer. Have you been watching the UFL? There's the first one.
Okay. So I have not been watching it, but we do have season passes to the San Antonio team, but they have not had their home opener yet. So when they have their home opener, we're going to go out and watch. We've actually been season ticket holders to that team since it was still the XFL. And yeah, I mean, I think I think that the NFL could really benefit from a feeder program like that. And I like seeing, kids from college that didn't get drafted or picked up in unrestricted free agency get a chance in a league like that. The problem with that is just it is so expensive because the league owns all of the teams. So you don't have individual team owners like you do in the NFL where they their player salary is handled by their team owner. Every player and every coach in that league paid for. It's paid by the league itself. So it's just really hard to sustain something like that over time.
And Nick, the NFL still doesn't support it at all, or is affiliated in any way, or are they slightly now?
Like they're starting to essentially use it as like a testing ground of oh, well, the XFL did this with their kickoffs, so now we're gonna take that on. So the kickoff stuff that you see with the XFL or in the NFL now is actually what they did in the XFL initially. And so they're kind of doing that, but I think what may end up having to happen if this league is going to continue to be around.
It's gonna have to be like baseball, right?
It'll have to be like baseball or like NBA, G League, D League stuff, where it's like they are incorporated into the NFL.
Yeah, it's like, hey, if you're the Austin whatever, the San Antonio or whatever, you're a feeder to Houston Texans.
Like Houston or Dallas or something like that.
It's just I listen. If it's on and there's nothing else on, I'll kick it on. It's uninspiring football. I'm sorry. Like, I know these guys are still better than a team of college players, but college football, you have that rah-rah, you Saturday, me being, an Ohio State alumni, I get into that shit. I don't necessarily care about a Buckeye that wasn't good enough to get into the league is now playing for the, San Antonio assholes. It's like, all right, okay. I think the difference is if I lived around one or if Columbus had one, I'd probably be more into it because Columbus, for the most part, is a shit sports town outside of the Buckeyes and I guess the Blue Jackets. But that's real. I guess we've got a good soccer team, but who cares?
I mean, the biggest team in the UFL is the St. Louis Battlehawks, which makes sense because St. Louis really got screwed.
Yeah, and their team got
NFL
stolen
team.
from them. So
yeah, and I'm talking about like
Stan Kroenke.
The average attendance for a UFL game is probably around 10,000 people, maybe a little less than that.
That's pretty good, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and St. Louis always is in the 30,000 plus home game attendance. They fill that stadium, which is crazy.
But like you said, it doesn't really matter because the money still gets dispersed from the league. So it's not like St. Louis can recoup all those, concession revenue and all that and put it back into their team. I'm guessing they got to, send it to the coffer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, if they move to an ownership model, it may help them because that's how the Arena Football League essentially sustained itself for so long.
The Rock will save the day. The Rock will save the day.
We'll see. Hopefully.
All right, Mike's got a few other here. Nick, do you consider KOTOR to be legends? This is an easy one.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I mean, it is.
Okay,
yeah,
and then finally, are you jealous, Matt, that I get to meet Sam Witwer and Matthew Wood? Not really. I don't want this to come off me being a dickhead, even though it's probably going to come off like this. So apologies, people. I'm not meaning to make those of you that enjoy, or like paying to meet celebrities and doing pictures and autographs. That's just not my thing. If I ever got into that, I'd probably be more like SW Props and just be like an annoying gnat and hunt them down and stalk them on red carpets where it's almost like you could say it's quasi a natural interaction and not a paid interaction. I find that whole business to be slimy, to be honest with you. It's, but listen, it's a lucrative business, and I know a lot of Star Wars fans live and die for the meet and greets and the autograph sessions at all the cons across the country. So, like I said, I'm not here to really make anyone feel like shit. Just me personally, I think meeting celebs in a controlled, paid fashion is just like, it's icky. So there you go, Nick. He doesn't give a shit what you think. Okay.
No, yeah. Hey, man, I think Sam Witwer is a cool dude. I like the content.
I would love to meet
Star
Sam in a
Wars.
bar. I don't want to pay Sam to talk to him for 2 seconds. That's kind of what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. I think our last one here is another below the belt type of deal. Some toilet humor or toilet discussions. Coming from our boy Spencer again. So same thing here, Nick. Now we're going to the fair sex. So screw, marry, kill, Selma Hayek, Sydney Sweeney, Kate Upton.
I'm going Mormon on this one, and I'm marrying all of them.
Okay. All right. Attaboy. All right. I'm probably going to marry Selma because she doesn't seem to age. So she's probably a witch, or at least knows how to tap into some spiritual power that I would like to get some. Sydney Sweeney, I'm not super familiar with, so I'm probably going to whack her, and I'll screw Upton because I remember she used to have some jugs. I'm guessing that's still her thing. Is she still with Justin Verlander? Who knows? But that's where I'm at on that one. All right, so thank you for Ask Us Anything this week, my friends. Now we'll get into a little bit of pop culture talk before there's time for Star Wars time. All right, so let's do one of those. Let's do one of these. got some movies for you to consider, or maybe not consider. So I took a flyer on Screamboat last Thursday, Nick. It was just, it worked for my schedule. I wouldn't say it's the movie I wanted to see, but I did see that it is from the production team of Terrifier 2 and 3, plus the guy playing Steamboat Willie is Art the Clown. So I was like, hey, why not? I kind of like the Terrifier, even though it's B-movie-ish and really over the top. I'll go check out Screamboat, which, my friends, I'm not kidding. It's literally a retelling of Steamboat Willie.
Yeah, that's what's happening with a lot of those like older.
Yeah,
Disney
because
properties.
it's all public domain now, so you can do whatever you want, and that's pretty much what David Howard Thornton did. I mean, it's nothing but tongue-in-cheek jabs at Disney, Steamboat Willie, Walt Disney. I mean, the girls in it are all dressed like Disney princesses, even though they're on a ferry in New York. It's literally a little like 2-foot rat that runs around and just gruesomely murders people and laughs and falls in love with a human. So it's got all the tropes of a B movie that you'll love if you enjoy B movie fare. Does that make sense? You know, if you're into the B movie scene, you'll
that was definitely my thing. I used to work at a video store, so we would get all of those like B movies straight to DVD
like, is it
things.
Where you go, like, should this be on YouTube maybe? Or
yeah, I know. Back then you didn't have that distro method yet, but yeah, I mean, you see these like Uwe Boll movies.
Yeah.
Some people who are familiar with old video game films know who he is. That kind of stuff.
And that like Screamboat, it's just it embraces being a B movie. It's not ashamed to be a B movie. There's really no actors or actresses you'll even know in it. The acting is subpar. It's let's just say you might see a little rat dismember someone's member and then use that creatively for other kills. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. That is what we're talking about in Screamboat. It's more like a 6 out of 10 type of deal. It's definitely not high art, I'll tell you that. And the other one, and I just had to do this because I saw that it absolutely slayed the box office and I had some time on Monday.
Oh, yeah.
I've got zero connection to Minecraft. I understand it's a pop culture icon. Don't get me wrong. I was in the gaming media when it became a thing. I remember Notch and selling it to Microsoft. Minecraft literally took over the world. So the movie comes out. I can't even interest my 8 or now 9-year-old to go see it. She's like, fuck off. She's like, I could care less, Dad. I don't really know what Minecraft is. It's not my thing. Even though she plays a game, Nick, that's literally a Minecraft clone. It's not Roblox, but no, it's not Roblox. It's another one she picked up in school. But you literally build with cubes. I'm like, you just
same thing.
It's like do Minecraft. She's like, no. I said, okay. So, anyways, I see on Monday this motherfucking movie made like 163 million.
Yeah.
I don't care if the movie's good or not. I love that. I love that we can still have summer blockbuster-esque type of tentpole movie experiences. Okay, that's good. And I should have known better when I went there Thursday to watch that Screamboat mess. Nick, it was like, it was Minecraft Central. I mean, moms and sons. It was all moms and sons.
Dude, did you see people are getting arrested in theaters for yelling and throwing stuff at the screen when this chicken jockey scene comes up.
Can you explain that to me? Is it like go against the game mechanics or something? Or
dude, I don't know. Like I played Minecraft a lot when it was like when it first released, and like the only way that I remember the way that I got Minecraft the first time, my friend dropped me the zip file in a Dropbox and was like, here, this is like, I didn't even know how to get it. Like he just sent me the zip
I am
file.
Steve.
All
right, Topo. What up, brother? That's right.
And like, back then they didn't have all that stuff. But yeah, the chicken jockey stuff, dude, I have no freaking clue.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Because like I said, I mean, I'll tell you this, Minecraft, if you have no real connection to Minecraft or you don't really understand some of the inside jokes, the innuendos, it's a movie, all right? I mean, it's Jack Black, so, he's Jack Black. You're always good for a gag with him. Momoa is kind of funny because he doesn't play the big, strong, tough guy. He's kind of a fucking loser. There's a scene with these two where they're flying that is absolutely hilarious to watch. So it has some moments, but I would reckon, you like that, Nick? Been watching a lot of Young Sheldon these days, so I'd reckon if you're a Minecraft anything, like if you've played it or you have kids that play it, I think you're gonna fucking love this movie because it sounds like those that appreciate the universe kind of dig the film, and which possibly justifies the box office. We'll see if it can maintain its grip in week 2. But in terms of just going to see a movie with no Minecraft reference outside, it's a game about cubes that you build, it's okay. I mean, it's like a 6.5, 7 at best. Gamer guys, can you explain the chicken jockey thing? Like, why is that controversial? Are people just getting excited? I don't know. I don't know what it means. All I know is at one point in time they're in a ring, and I think Momoa has to fight a little miniature zombie that is riding a chicken.
Yeah. I mean, like, I know that is an enemy that you can encounter when you're like, mining and you're like delving into like different underground cities and stuff like that, doing exploration. But I don't know why it elicits the response that it does. I'll say that. Like, I'm aware of its existence, but the response that it elicits, I really don't know it because I haven't played Minecraft in a while. Yeah,
so I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think I could send you there in good conscience. But it does seem to be one of these pop cultural all-stars right now. So if you've been waffling, you got kids that are into it, you can find worse things to do during an evening. All right.
There you go.
Let's get into some Star Wars talk here. We'll try to make this quick so we can get to our main segment, checking out the clock here. But this MP First site, they seem to have... They seem to have, they got a leak coming out of Bit Reactor because, last week we introduced a post of theirs where they had screenshots from Bit Reactor's Star Wars turn-based tactic game where, we saw some Mandalorians and droids and we confirmed to ourselves like, this is going to be spot on XCOM, but with Star Wars skin. And now this week, Nick, they have the title. Apparently, this game, which was supposed to be the one best kept secret for Celebration Japan, is going to be called Star Wars Zero Company. And as we saw, it features, at least based on the screens and what this site knows, Mandalorians, droids, and stormtroopers. Okay, so... I don't know. I know one of the screens there was like an Ahsoka looking figure kind of in the hub world. I don't know if we're going to have Jedi or if it's all going to be Mandalorians or just soldier-based classes. But we now know the name, Star Wars Zero Company. So, Nick, I guess in terms of celebration announcements, outside of possibly getting a new look at Mando and Grogu, I think I'm zeroed in on this shit, to be honest with you, in terms of what I want to see and learn.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine that we'll probably get a gameplay demo or at least some sort of like cinematic from the game just to like set up the universe that it's going to play in. Because as you mentioned, we saw Mandalorians, we saw droids, we saw stormtroopers. So does that put us, like firmly in the Mandoverse timeline with Remnant Empire stormtroopers and stuff like that? Is that the area that we're going to be functioning in primarily? Or are we going to see a little bit of time hopping, which is hard to imagine for a game like this? Like, having played XCOM before and knowing how the story structure works within those games, it would be hard for me, unless there's different campaigns that you can choose from, to see you like, oh, well, you have a mission where you're in, New Republic timeline. You have a mission when you're in Mandoverse timeline. You have a mission when you're in OT timeline or something like that. So
yeah, I think you nailed it. It would have to be separate campaigns. Otherwise, the way these turn-based tactic games flow, it's not like, oh, I beat a mission, now I'm going to advance 30 years and do another mission. Yeah. So I think Nick's spot on. You would think they would want to set it in Mandoverse era, But based on what we saw, it technically could also be OT. So we're a few days away from finding this out on the 19th or whatever. So stay tuned. We'll be talking about it, I'm sure, once we get all the details. One would hope that it might be a late 25 release. It just depends how long they've been cranking on this thing. I do hope for a 2025 release, but I will not be surprised if it's early 26 for Zero Company. All right, another quickie before our main topic, which again, we are going to debate. Is Star Wars better without the Jedi? Get some. All right. So this one comes by way of Bestman Bulletin, Nick. Someone finally gathered the episode runtimes of Andor Season 2. BB is usually spot on with their reporting, so I'm taking this as gospel. And as we teased at the start of this crappy episode of the SWTS, it is going to be a slog for anyone that deals in Star Wars content creation and peddling. So podcasters, content creators, jerk-offs like Nick and I. Look at this. I mean, here we go. Episode 1, 51 minutes. Episode 2, 44. Episode 3, 53. Episode 4, 54. Episode 5, 54. Episode 6, 54. 4, 5, 6. I mean, holy shit, man. I mean, we're approaching damn near 3 hours.
3 hours.
3 hours.
That's almost 3 hours.
All right, now
that's heavy.
Now these times you gotta figure there's probably 5 to 6 minutes of probably previously on and credits. So you could probably whack a lot of these down to 50, but still 150 minutes. that's a lot of fucking Star Wars. And here's the deal. You are all like, yeah, this is going to be great. Yeah, I'll just sit there and watch it throughout the week. Well, watch out for spoilers if you're not going to watch them all in one night. But people like Nick and I, if we're going to be prepared for a Wednesday show to break this shit down, there you go. There you go.
That is what I was going to say, is that, like, I think that show watching will suffer because of this, because people are going to be like, man, I just didn't have the time to finish it, so I don't want to watch the show live and then have it spoiled.
Yeah, well, no, you're right, because it'll be a cascade, Nick, because if people aren't watching all the episodes, they're going to try to stay off social media, which prevents natural engagement, promotion. Holy shit, did you see the first 3 episodes of Andor? Now it's gonna be like, god damn, episode 1 was 51 minutes and now I got to go to bed to get up for work. So
I mean, that's kind of what I'm afraid of, is that, like, I don't have a lot of TV time. Like, you know, me and Taylor, we turn on the TV at like 6 p.m. We start cooking at 7 p.m. So the TV goes off. We finish cooking and eating around 7:45. And then it's like, and when we're watching TV, like, we're watching stuff that we watch together. So really, I only have like an hour of TV time alone. So there's a high likelihood that I just don't finish this shit before the show.
Yeah, does anyone want to be?
Get it spoiled.
Does anyone want to be my co-host for the next 4 weeks? Because it's going to be very hard to break down a show when I'm the only one that knows what's happening. So. Young Nick's gonna have to change his schedule. I'm gonna have to change my schedule for 4 weeks, but we'll get something done. And maybe it'll be solo breakdowns, but I'm committing to do this, and this might be it for me. I have a feeling Andor Season 2 is gonna break me. The good thing, though, is I have promised myself, if I put out my first breakdown and it's a dud, as in doesn't get into the thousands, I think I'm gonna quit for Andor and just work on prepping the show. You know what I mean? So. We'll see. But I take Nick at his word. There's a good chance he ain't watching Andor at the same pace as me. So our breakdowns are probably going to be a little wonky for this show. And Nick's, I'll be like, hey, Nick, can you believe that happened? He's going to be like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, I mean, what probably is going to end up happening is I'll have to try to watch it in like 15-minute chunks during the day. And see if I can.
Yeah, I mean, like you said,
fit everything in.
It can be figured out. In my head, I have a feeling I'm going to be starting around 9:30 or 10 each Tuesday night and going. So I'm going to be up till probably 1 most Tuesdays and up early Wednesday. And like I said, if the first 3 episodes bombs for us in terms of the shit I do,
I mean,
I'm done making personal breakdowns. We're just going to do them on the show.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I do think that this is just a really bad release cadence for content creators, especially if you're like.
Well, Tony
if
said
you're
as
trying-
much. Remember that in the interview? He's
Yeah.
like, I feel bad for you fucks.
Yeah, like it's a really bad cadence for people like us, and I mean, like, you know, that's just how it goes. And also, what's going to suffer is like content that we put out from this after the episode airs. Like, if we're putting out content where it's like we're sending out clips of our breakdown, or like when we're talking about our thoughts on the 3 episodes, like people are going to be like spoilers, 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 and it's like I can't even blame them. It's like, yeah, I mean, you're right. Like,
Well,
we're putting out content about 3 hours worth of content that just came out yesterday. Like,
I
you know,
still
and-
like I question this decision and why it happened. I think this is like some deep state type of shit going on at Lucasfilm. Don't you? Like something's fishy about this. Either Tony fought for it because that's his vision, like I want a year a week, or they're like, you know what? These assholes are always bitching that they don't get enough content. The episodes aren't long enough. They got to wait week to week. Here you go. Fuck off. See what it's like to get it through a fire hose, you dicks.
yeah, and the thing is like I don't think that Disney or Lucasfilm would want a release cadence like this, because like we were saying, you would prefer a 12-week release cadence, because then you keep people.
This is
like,
a
if you
1 month
have-
sub, bro.
Yeah, like if you have people that are subscribing just for certain shows, then you keep your subscribers around for longer. But for doing it like this, it actually hurts Disney and Lucasfilm, because yeah, like you can sub for a month and watch the whole show's out
Literally.
if you got time.
Just
to watch it.
come May 13th, sign up for Disney Plus and cancel it a week later because you can watch the whole damn season. Dividen's asking how they did season 1. So what they did with season 1,
episodes.
they dropped episodes 1 through 3 to start, and then it was singles for the rest of the season. And
Yeah.
listen, I mean, I sound like a complete cunt here. Don't get me wrong, because I'd be bitching if they released week by week, because guess what? Then I'd be doing this shit when I'm at the beach. So there is a silver lining to this nonsense, and it's the fact that I'm going to get all this off my plate before I'm off for 2 weeks at the coast. So I guess I have that to look forward to, but just thinking about it, I'm just like, yeah, League saying, as a viewer, I don't mind this release, but I agree, I feel for you. And also Disney got something up. That's why, I mean, it's just something is up here. It's just weird.
Yeah, it's just like I just don't understand how Disney could benefit from this. But then again, like, what do I know? Like, maybe it condenses the viewing schedule.
I'm sure
so it's
AI told them to do it.
maybe.
You know, like the formula that was used for all the tariffs, it was like AI, and it was all incorrect. It didn't even mean
it's just all
anything.
wrong.
Oh boy. Yeah, so hey, this is going to be an interesting experiment. I'd be lying if I told you that I wasn't slightly feeling ill, that I have one more week of normal life before this fucking slog begins. Like I've been circling the 22nd for a few months now, and we are almost there. All right, my friend, it is time. Oh shit! I just closed the link. It is time to have ourselves another little debate like we did last week. Last week, it might have been a little too high IQ for people when we tried to determine which side of the Force is stronger, the light or the dark. Make sure to check it out if you have not watched or listened to that. We are on podcast platforms and YouTube, Spotify with video as well. But this week, because like I said, we're about to head into a non-Jedi, non-Force for the most part show with Andor Season 2. So I figured it was a good time to kind of discuss this. Is Star Wars better without the Jedi? Now, I'm sure this is going to trigger a lot of people once we start putting out our short clips, because that's just how Star Wars fans are these days. They'll look at a title and just jump to a conclusion. They'll listen to a minute and make judgments about people's overall intelligence. But hey, that's the game we play, and we love it. This doesn't mean we hate Star Wars. This doesn't mean we hate Jedi. This is called having a fucking discussion, people, okay? We're not changing canon. We're not saying George was right or wrong, or anyone else that's worked in Star Wars. We're just going to ask some questions that hopefully make you think about this concept. Is Star Wars better without the Jedi? Think about it. We have Andor, we have Solo. I would even throw the Mandalorian even there, even though, they kind of use a little cheap trick there with Luke a bit in season 2. Same you could say about Book of Boba Fett, I guess, if you wanted to. But Bad Batch, another show that kind of stayed away from Jedi for the most part. So think about that type of stuff. Is Star Wars better without the Jedi? Hold on, let me get some gas out here. I think I ate some bad yogurt, my friends, so I apologize. It's the warm type of gas, which is never good for other people in the room. Okay, so like last week, we have 9 talking points to really hopefully get us to a conclusion here. Is Star Wars better without the Jedi? There is no real right answer here either, my friends, so please don't get yourselves upset. All right, Nick, so the first question, or the first thing to consider when we want to determine if Star Wars is better without the Jedi, I'd like to ask you or kind of propose this. If you think about it, and Nick, you go hard on this, and I think you just did it last week, where the concept of Jedi being gatekeepers of the Force, is that limiting? Star Wars has long framed the Jedi as the primary Force users. And as Nick said last week, they kind of frame for the galaxy how the Force should be used. But we know the Jedi, we're missing out on broader, more diverse Force philosophies like the Guardians of the Whills or the Night Sisters or the Bendu would embrace. So should Star Wars, Nick, decenter the Jedi and explore the Force through other cultures? Is the Jedi limiting? Is that one of the reasons why sometimes when we have Star Wars without the Jedi, it might be a bit more engaging?
Yeah. I do think that when you're looking at Star Wars through the lens of the Jedi, which is hard to not view it through, because everything that happens in the current Star Wars universe is colored through the lens of the Jedi are here. So if the question is, should the Jedi, would Star Wars be better if the Jedi didn't exist? The answer is, who knows? Because that's it fundamentally changes the entire galaxy. But as gatekeepers of the Force, I do think it would be interesting to have more competing views be showcased in Star Wars, or at least have and this is why I go back to people freak out about Rian Johnson touching Star Wars again. But that was the interesting part about Rian Johnson's trilogy is if you're going to a different galaxy, or if you're going to a different space where the current Star Wars galaxy does not have any bearance on that space, then you potentially end up in an area where you have a completely different, governance, or a completely different way that the Force is interacted with by the general public, or perceived by the general public. So I do think that in general, the Jedi do have a very limited view of the Force that does prohibit people from exploring it further. They would essentially during the before the fall of the Empire, they were the ones that chose who could use it. There were people who were Force sensitive out there that didn't become Jedi because the Jedi were well, you're not strong enough in the Force.
You're too old.
You don't have, you don't have the juice, or we found you too late, or or something like that. So it wasn't just that they're putting out to the galaxy this is how the Force should be used. They're also saying we are the arbiters of who can use it. And if we find out that you're using it in a way that we don't agree with, then we're coming at you. So I do think that the Jedi in general are more of a dampening force for the Force across the galaxy than they are.
So when you think about that through the lens of telling Star Wars stories, Nick, I do think this point holds true then. Because the Jedi are gatekeepers, it does limit how the Force can be told in a Star Wars story. So we would like to see the Force explored through different lenses than just the Jedi. So I think this one rings true, that because of their gatekeeping, they can and will limit the ability to learn more about the Force. SW, I'm not sure if I'm picking my nose. I've let my beard grow a little bit, so I'm probably picking my beard. But if I have jammed my finger up there a few times, it's all in good fun. Okay, at least I'm not eating it. All right, so the next one here, next concept, and when we talk about how the Jedi may, when they're gone or when they're not in a Star Wars story, it might actually make that Star Wars story better because of the things they do, or they limit the creatives if they are used. So the next one here is, when we think about some of these shows like Andor, Solo, and The Mandalorian, does the absence of the Jedi create more tension and stakes? Nick, we can all agree the lightsaber is an iconic thing to look at, but do stories that don't have them and their owners allow for richer storytelling? In Andor, we could focus on espionage and the political aspect of Star Wars. Solo, we got to see the war from the perspective of the Empire, or just survival, bank heists. You get to have all these types of narrative tropes in these non-Jedi stories. So do you feel like when the Jedi are absent, that there almost is more tension and stakes because they're not there to be the superhero?
I think it just depends on how the story is being told, because I think that the case study against this is Clone Wars. I think that Clone Wars is a story that is obviously heavily focused around Jedi Order, their interactions with the clones, and how the war that is being fully managed by the Jedi is going versus the CS. And I think that you were able to tell very interesting stories in Clone Wars, especially like the arc where the Emperor, or Palpatine, was kidnapped from the Capitol, and like there's so many different storylines that work really well within Clone Wars. So I don't necessarily think that that's the case. I think where it becomes an issue is where you have storytelling where there are a limited, like where Jedi are essentially used as like a trap card, where it's like, okay, well, we got a bunch of non-Force users, and then like, oh no, like
Huzzah!
Force user pops in, so boom, like
it's Miller
Force
time.
user side wins. Like it's just over from that period of time. So I think that this isn't necessarily true, and I think that that's just evidenced by like the OT, and like a lot of the stories that were told prior to this era, where we've gotten into a lot of focus on on stories that don't have a lot of Force users in it. So I don't necessarily agree with this one. I think that like if you're a good storyteller and you know how to use the pieces around you, then you can tell fantastic stories that have high stakes and high tension moments with or without Force users involved.
SW, we're with you. We would like to see an all-female Jedi Star Wars film as well.
Dude, that would be sick. I mean,
I don't know if you're trolling us, but if they ever made that, they would definitely light Lucasfilm on fire. And by they, I mean the troglodytes of the fandom.
Hey,
so.
Hey, like, when you go back into the old Republic times.
No, he's being a goon, so I kind of figured.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would like to see it. I think that there's always interesting stories to tell when you have different perspectives of people that are in lead roles, or so. All
right, so Nick says he doesn't necessarily get down with this one in terms of, if we don't have Jedi, a Star Wars story is just going to be naturally more tense, higher stakes. I mean, I think potentially when you're looking at a character like Cassian, they might be a bit more relatable. You know what I mean? Because they aren't wizards. But I tend to agree with Nick, and the Clone Wars is probably the best example you could give, where you do have Jedi, you do have regular characters, and there was definitely plenty of tension and stakes, especially in that Siege of Mandalore arc. So, all right, I'll give you that one, young Nick. Okay, up next on our discussion, debating if Star Wars is better without the Jedi, we have the concept of the Jedi as myth versus reality. All right, Nick, so what I mean by that, in a story like The Mandalorian, the Jedi, or even in the sequel trilogy before Rey becomes one herself, the Jedi are almost, they're treated like legends, mystical figures that, did they exist because they did these fantastical things? Is it even real? So, Nick, do you think keeping them in the shadows makes them more powerful or intriguing in a Star Wars story when they're not front and center, but they're talked about as these once almost demigods? Does that make them a bit more powerful or intriguing to the narrative?
I think that like it definitely can, because whenever you're whenever you're like fantasizing about something, or whenever you are like remembering or pulling from legend from something, it always feels more impactful, and it always feels larger than life. I mean, just remember the conversation that Obi-Wan Kenobi had with Luke
That's
Skywalker.
exactly where I was going to go, young Nick. That's why we
like,
keep you around here.
There we go. So it's like that's the perfect example where it's like, oh, well, you know, your father and the
I
Clone
was
Wars,
sucked right into that little story as a kid. I was like, holy shit, I wish I could see this. And then I saw it and I was like, holy shit, I wish I didn't see this.
Yeah. So I think that there is like having that mythical standing of something, it always makes it way more interesting to hear the stories told. And then what the challenge always is once you've presented that, you then you have to approach it in real life. It's like you have to keep some of that larger than life quality. Like you have to have some of that there still to justify the mythical way that it was spoken about, but you also have to be able to ground it in reality. And I think for what was done in the sequel trilogy or in the prequel trilogy, I think they got relatively close. I think they got close. I mean, they're like the storyline itself was very much grounded in reality, in terms of like what was happening during that time period. Like when you hear the Clone Wars, you're like, oh wow, this has to be wild. And then when you watch the prequel trilogy, you're like, this is all because of tariffs on trade routes. Now we're learning. Like, and then like you see the grounded side of it, you're like, okay, well, like I can understand how this can realistically happen now. But then you have moments like the Duel of Fates where you're like, now I also understand why this is mythologized, like why this era has become so like such a larger than life period of time, because you have these incredible battles with these like larger than life villains.
Can't believe what General Skywalker did on Utapau, stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, even think about the sequel trilogy, Nick. They were using this exact trope. Luke Skywalker was the man, the myth, and the legend. Rey and Finn, they're like, oh my God, he's real. That guy, Luke, Han Solo's real. I mean, all that stuff, when they're thinking of them as legendary characters, it really kind of played into exactly what we're talking about. There pretty much was, outside of Kylo doing his thing, he wasn't the Jedi, but there wasn't really a Jedi in TFA. The Jedi was this myth, and it added to the narrative. It's like, oh, when are we going to see Luke again? Oh my, what is he going to look like? What's his power going to be like? And then, you know, we meet him in TLJ, and Ryan kind of effed some of that stuff up. But even by the end of that, Luke does legendary shit. He zips himself across the galaxy and takes on a fleet of the First Order's, war machine, and comes out the victor, even though he forced himself to death. So I do think this one is true. I think when the Jedi are looked at more through the lens of legends or myths, it enhances the story you're watching.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one here on our list of debates about, is Star Wars better without the Jedi? I like this one here, Nick. It kind of goes back to what you're talking about with the prequels. So what do you think about this question? Did the Jedi become the problem in the prequels, and should that be the end of their legacy? So with the Jedi Order's fall due to dogma and political entanglement, is it time to stop framing them as heroes and accept that they might not be what the galaxy needs anymore?
I think a lot of it has to do from the prequel side with, like, at that point they had been around and they followed their structure for thousands of years, and then just didn't evolve. Like naturally didn't evolve. Like if you go back and play the KOTOR games, it's a similar situation where like the Jedi and the governing bodies at that time were entangled with each other. Like they were essentially used as like a police force for the galaxy, and at that time, rightfully so, because you had like very aggressive Sith posturing and everything else that was going on. So I think what needed to happen was an evolution of the Jedi over time that put them in a position to where they disconnected themselves from the central governing body and essentially were like more of a neutral force in the galaxy that didn't just parrot whatever the government said was the right thing to do. Like they were more there as like neutral arbiters. So I do think that moving forward into what we're now learning is Simon Kinberg's trilogy, I do think that they need to kind of redefine the role. Like, if not like, you know, like the Jedi will probably still be around, but they need to redefine their role in the galaxy and how they interact with the public and with the galaxy as a whole. Because if it just becomes again like the Jedi are going to be the force police for the new government at this time.
Yeah, we're right back to square one. So I mean, honestly, if you just think about this statement, the Jedi kind of stopped being what the galaxy needed after the prequel era. I mean, yes, we had a training Jedi help blow up the Death Star, and then eventually get his dad to turn. But what really defeated the Empire? It was the rebellion. It was his non-force using at the time sister. It was the Mon Mothmas, the Luthen Raels, the Cassian Andors. So I mean, honestly, this kind of is true that the Jedi aren't what the galaxy needs. So like Nick's saying, if we're going to start making new stories, let's just go off of how it's played out. I mean, the Jedi never fully returned after the prequel era. Never. It never came back the way they thought it would happen or wanted it to happen. So I do think this one holds true. The galaxy doesn't need them as the police force anymore. I'm not saying it doesn't need them at all, but they definitely, like Nick was saying, if Kinberg is going to bring them in, which he's going to, let's not just have another dogmatic order that looks like a bunch of bozos because they can't see the darkness right in front of their face. Okay. Next up, what point will be made? The Jedi as narrative crutches. Do they solve problems too easily? You know, I mean, Nick, does the presence of Jedi and Force users undercut tension in storytelling? Would Andor have hit as hard if Cassian had been Force sensitive?
That's a good question, and it's really hard to give a solid answer to this one, because really the biggest example that we have of it in terms of like a Jedi coming in a situation,
Mandalorian, the image I have on screen.
Yeah, exactly. Is that particular example, because we really haven't seen it elsewhere that much. Like even like you were saying, Bad Batch, like we didn't really experience it that much in Bad Batch. Like there was no like Jedi Miller time that happened that like solved the story problem or anything like that. And realistically, the one instance that it happened in Mandalorian season 2 was and like, look, I'm not saying it's a bad thing either. It was a fan service moment, and I think that it was used well. But I think that what Filoni and Favreau realized after that is like they can't keep doing it. You know, like they have done a really good job of keeping, like, even though Ahsoka is involved in this story, they like keeping her away from.
Right, she's like, not really affecting the main plot.
Yeah, like they're doing a good job of keeping her away from the primary storyline that's happening there. So, do I think that they can be used as narrative crutches? They definitely
100.
Can be if you had weaker storytellers that are working at that craft. But luckily, that really hasn't been an issue thus far. Like where we have seen Force user involvement has been limited thus far in the Mandoverse, and where it has happened heavily has been in a completely different galaxy, speaking almost exclusively to the Ahsoka series and what we saw happening on Peridia and leading up to those events. But then also you have you have good Force users there, and you have bad Force users there, and you have bad magic users there in the Night Sisters. So it's like you have to balance.
That's
that
a good
out.
point. So that's not necessarily the crutch thing we're talking about, because everyone's on a level playing field. But you know, the Mando is probably the prime example. That's why I picked this image. If you're not on the live stream, because listen, they were in deep shit
We went through 2
Yeah.
seasons. We made it to the last episode of season 2. They're in deep shit. There really is no escape. Gideon got the upper hand. The Dark Troopers are back on the ship. They're screwed. And this guy shows up. And honestly, I don't necessarily consider that a narrative crutch, even though it kind of is, but it worked perfectly. So this one's weird. It's like 2 sides of the same coin with the Luke moment. Outside that, then it can get dangerous where it's just like, hey, let's bring in the dude in Miller time.
Yeah, and I think that they did it in such a good way in Mandalorian season 2 because they planted the seed.
Mm-hmm.
Like they went to Tython.
Correct.
The
beacon was
they
sent up.
activated
Yep.
the beacon, and like the call was out there. Like Grogu threw the call out, so you knew that eventually somebody was going to show up at some point. And it was just like they did it in a way where it's like he showed up when they needed him the most. He did what he did, and then he got out of there. And they've done a good, like I said, they've done a good job of keeping him disconnected from the story. Like, does he kind of like does now the general fan base think like, well, Luke came and saved him once, why doesn't he do it again? Like, the reason that he's not doing it again is because it's good for him to not keep doing it.
Right,
Like,
and then we fall into the what we're talking about here. Like, can we not have a Star Wars story without a Jedi that's good? So yeah, I think they've used Luke perfectly in Mando so far, and hopefully outside of maybe the crossovers, he just kind of keeps watching robots do slave labor for him, building his temple. Because he is a narrative crutch when he wants to be, or when the writers want him to be. And love him or hate him in TLJ, I think that's probably why a lot of fans didn't like his portrayal, because Ryan didn't use him as a narrative crutch. He actually used him as like a narrative negative. He's like,
yeah, it's like.
I mean, Luke could have, if he wanted to, been like, all right, let me zip my big dick back in my pants, pull my X-Wing up, I'm going to fly over to Crate, strafe the battlefield, I'll jump out, do a few flips, and go, Hasaka! And take out everything in Miller time. So, all right. Next concept to think about as we debate, is Star Wars better without the Jedi? We have this one here, and this is like the dichotomy we've been programmed to just eat, sleep, and breathe. As a Star Wars fan, we're talking about the Jedi-Sith binary. Is it outdated at this point in time, Nick? I mean, fans, especially the younger generations, I think, they're becoming more and more interested in morally gray characters. Look how much we all loved Kamir when we didn't, when he was kind of being that guy, and then we saw him being this guy. I don't know if he's completely morally gray. He seems pretty bad, but you know what I mean? I mean, we had characters like Ahsoka, Baylan Skoll, Shin Hati, the idea of gray Jedi that we talked about last week. So, Nick, do you think the future Star Wars should explore more nuanced Force users who don't necessarily fit into I'm light side or I'm dark side?
Yeah, I 100% think that should be a direction. And I even go further to say that, like, it shouldn't even just be like, Jedi, Sith, gray Jedi. I think that the way that the Force has been presented to us in narrative is that everybody has some level of access to it. Like, everybody has midichlorians. The people who have more midichlorians, that have higher M count, have higher potential, but that doesn't mean that somebody with a lower M count
Sabine
has no potential. Theoretically, in this universe, you should see people who are just on the streets that like are normal everyday people that can touch the Force in noticeable ways. Like, and I
playing
think that,
catch the floating rock, like, hey Nick, here you go.
Like, but even like you should see street hustlers that are using the Force,
right? Moving the ball under the cup.
Yeah, like a guy playing 3-card Monty using the Force, or somebody who has.
It was fake, but Kumal's character in Kenobi, right?
Yeah, like something like that, where it's like the Force is a part of this galaxy, and it has been forever. But the problem is that it's only ever been presented to us in this
black
fashion,
and white,
where it's like only these people use it. Yeah, everybody's got it, but only these people use it. So I think that like a shift in narrative focus or a shift in presentation of the Force in a way where it's like you understand that like the Force is everywhere, like Yoda told to Luke. Like the Force is what binds us together as living beings. Like everybody has the ability to touch it, and I think that thus far through Star Wars, we haven't seen that presented in a good way. So I do think that the binary methodology of presenting it through good guy Jedi, bad guy Sith is getting a little outdated. And I do think that they should explore how they can now have the Force be more present throughout the galaxy and not just concentrated in these two options.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I love the characters of Balin and Shin. They definitely seem to lean a bit more into the dark, but hey, they didn't have red lightsabers, so they're kind of fitting the mold we're talking about, where their toe isn't fully dipped into the light side or dark side ponds. So I'm with Nick. I do hope this is where we go. I wouldn't even be opposed to they don't even call them Jedi anymore. You know, let's maybe come up with a new name. I'm sure that would literally destroy some fans' mind, but I would like just even getting away from Jedi and Sith.
Let me present something to you that I think would be really awesome to see.
Present.
Like there is like we always see that like when there's a bad Force user around, a good Force user of equal power has to step up and fight them, right?
Snoke explained that dichotomy to us.
Yeah, like that is how it's always been presented. But if it is true that within everybody in this galaxy there is some modicum of Force power, like what happens if if a dark side Force user walks into a village and like just starts wreaking havoc, but as a collective the people of the village come together and channel their Force power as a group and become strong enough as a collective
Nick,
to fight
the power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
But I think like that,
right? I mean that's kind of
presented. But that is a way more interesting thing where you see like in any other presentation of this, a guy that walks into a village of non-Force users or non-powerful Force users with a lightsaber just kills them all, no problem. It's over. Like they have no way to defend themselves. And if you truly adhere to what has been presented, where everybody has the Force, and if they can come together and they can actually channel that and defend themselves against one powerful foe, that's a pretty awesome thing to watch. It's like watching a group of people protect themselves versus a military force. It's like a powerful military force. You overwhelm them with numbers. And I think that could be a really interesting way to approach the Force in the future, is that like it doesn't have to be one strong guy versus another strong guy. It could be
a collective.
Like, yeah, like you can you can bring power to bear against a strong individual if you all work together, which I think is a better message than, well, if this strong guy's in your village, then you better call a Jedi and hope he shows up.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah, hey, this is what we're getting at. I mean, if you really think about it, Nick is perfect for this type of stuff. He gets you thinking. If you really think about it, the whole you're either one or the other does limit your ability to tell deeper stories, more intense stories, more tense stories. So I think this one rings true, and who knows, maybe we'll get it. I know she said she is all the Jedi, but maybe Rey changes that moving forward. What League is saying, don't you think the fandom menace will have a meltdown for something like a collective Force? Yeah, I mean, it's called the Acolyte. I mean, that's when I did the Power 1 too many, because it's essentially what they were doing. They could pull their shit together to blind people, to make them like take over their mind and whatnot. So yes, I mean, you're always, we don't worry about them though, because they don't even know what they're talking about half the time.
And the thing is like, it's not just in Star Wars, like collective groups of people are always resistant to change. But like, if that's how you govern yourself.
You don't say, Nick.
Yeah. Like if that's how, like, if that's how you proceed as a society, is to be like, well, there's this new thing that has presented itself. We are going to be afraid of it and resist it at all cost. then you never grow. Like you just stifle growth, and like
having a black stormtrooper. Look what that did when Force Awakens came out.
It's just.
Did you see Boyega's recent interview where he's like, "Hey, no, fuck you guys." He's like, "Yeah, you guys are good with us until we were made a hero. Then you're like, fuck that black."
Yeah, I mean, like he spoke the truth, and I mean, like, but you could see that throughout the course of human history. Like, all I'm talking about is just referring to history. Like, every time there's been a societal change that has come in place, the people who are afraid of change have fought it tooth and nail until they finally realize that it's a losing battle. Like, fighting progress for the good is fighting a losing battle.
Sometimes when we talk Star Wars,
schools, integration of schools is a perfect example. All they were doing is they were saying, like, hey, look, we all have the opportunity to learn together as a collective group of human beings. And what were people doing? Setting buildings on fire and attacking people that are just trying to learn. Like, hey, it's a problem in society that is also mirrored in,
I think it's
how Star Wars stories are told.
I think it's a humanity problem. It seems to be in every society it happens, and we are not a political show, but if you listen to what Nick just said and think about what's going on right now, again, the dude is making sense, okay?
Yeah, I mean, it happens in Star Wars. Like, it limits the way that people can tell Star Wars stories, because
that's what this segment's all about.
Yeah, like, people are afraid to change
These
the way
goddamn Jedi are ruining our Star Wars. See, I told you. That's why we did this. All right. Next point to make about these dirty, shitty storytelling Jedi. All right. Are non-Jedi stories just better Star Wars, Nick, or are they just better written? Okay, is it the absence of Jedi that makes shows like Andor and Mando work? Or is it simply that they have stronger scripts, maybe better direction, better narrative themes? In other words, my friends, is it the concept or the execution?
I mean, I don't think that either one of these is true. I don't think that non-Jedi stories are better written or better told. So I'm just anti this altogether, because I do think that, like, I mean, if you want to just look at examples of, like, incredible Jedi stories that are told, I mean, there's so many examples of it. The KOTOR is a complete story that's told around Jedi and Sith dynamics. Like, even the binary choice between Jedi and Sith dynamics.
It's not real though, Nick. So we can't take those exhibits.
But then OT, I mean, OT is the exact same thing. OT is the exact same thing, where it is a complete story told about light side, dark side dynamics through the lens of like a Sith running the galaxy and a Jedi rising up to fight against them. I mean, it's really hard to make this argument, because there's too many stories. Like, we have 2 examples, maybe 3 examples of stories that are told where there's not, like, there's completely.
Let's just
no
talk
Jedi.
about Andor, because that's one of them.
Yeah.
I think we can argue it probably is the best written Star Wars to date, at least from a writing perspective. No?
I disagree.
Which one are you putting up there? You can't use Legends books.
I think that all of the OT is better than Andor. Okay. Every one of them. Right. I think that Rogue One is better than Andor as an individual piece of content, and that obviously involves Force users, because Darth Vader shows up and then murders half the people on the thing. I think, and even going into, like, the part of the Force that was exuded by Baz and Chirrut, like, that was a huge part of their story as well, whether they could touch the Force or not. Like, they were guardians of the Wills, and they were guardians of the Force, and that was their entire storyline. Like,
you heard it here first. He said George Lucas is a better scriptwriter than Tony Gilroy. I didn't say it. Nick said
it's 100% true.
Those lines George wrote are better than dialogue Tony wrote. Like, Luthen's speech is not as good as George's writing that we make fun of all the time.
you could take it to the bank that the OT
we're smarter than this. What's that? How could this happen?
No, I'm talking about OT. I'm talking about the original trilogy. Okay. It is 100% better than Andor season 1. Like, people
I'm not talking about the overall content. I'm talking about the writing, the words that people say. Like, I mean, Luthen's speech to me is the best written anything in Star Wars delivered by one person.
I understand your perspective on that, but, like, when you're talking about something like this, where you're talking about broad-based stories, you can't just look at one speech that some dude gave. Right. Like, you have to take the whole picture.
I love the OT. It's my shit. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Andor is an overall better written property. And
That's an insane take to take, but you took it.
Hey, what are you? Are you in the fandom menace now, Nick? Other people can't have opinions contrary to yours?
Hey, go for it.
I win. The two people watching this show say I win, so we're moving on. Thank you. Thank you,
man.
ladies. I appreciate that. All right. Next up here for Nick to tear into. Are Jedi stories too morally clean cut? All right. So non-Jedi stories, Andor, Solo, Bad Batch. The narratives are a bit more in the, I don't know, the moral gray, I would say. Are those then more compelling to people, Nick, than just the rigid light dark dichotomy?
I mean, I think that they're morally clean cut because that's the foundation
Right.
of the Jedi. So I think that in terms of that, that's like you're following just the presentation of how the Jedi are. So I think that they have to be. Like, are they too morally clean cut? Maybe. I mean, like, you could argue that Anakin Skywalker is a Jedi story that is not morally clean cut at all.
He's
Like,
probably the only one, though, really.
I mean, you could argue that even to a lesser degree that Luke Skywalker story
he had a little
less,
incest, so that's not morally righteous. So.
Yeah, and you know, like there's a lot of like moral like ambiguity within the stories that are told about Jedi, but they can't be to a large degree, especially if you are a Jedi master or if you're a Jedi whatever. But another thing to point out is like we've only been shown stories of Jedi in the context of their interaction with the greater galaxy. Like you've never really had a story of a Jedi that is personal, like a personal story about a Jedi. Even Luke Skywalker is not a personal story about a Jedi. It is his story in relation to what he's doing in the galaxy. Like we've never had a story where it's just like we follow a Jedi along in their life from when they are a child to when they become a Jedi to when they run into hardships and stuff like that. It's always in relation to what their task is in the galaxy. I think it would be interesting to have a show where like you follow along in the Jedi and you understand the moral objections they may have to some things, which we see a little bit in Clone Wars. Like you see it a little bit in Clone Wars where it's like that one thread that I remember was like there was like a dispute happening at a farm, like some sort of like rural township, and the Jedi are like, well, we don't get involved in this because
it's the one with Hondo, right? The pirates are there, they're fucking with a farm, and they're like, hey, help us, and Obi-Wan's like, oh, we can't.
We can't do it.
Yeah.
We can't do it. And like that is when you like that instance is when you get into the moral stances that Jedi take and how that affects them. Because Anakin was like, how are we not going to do anything about this?
Right.
Like, how is this not our purpose? Like, these people are being like oppressed and held down by these pirates, and we have the ability to help them, if not as Jedi, as human beings or as living beings in this galaxy. Like, there are interesting moral takes that you could tell stories about from a Jedi perspective, but we just haven't seen them. Because of how the Jedi are always presented to us.
I think the closest we got was in a show that made people want to stab their eyes out because the Jedi were not morally clean cut, and that was the Acolyte. If you think about what all those fuckers were doing, Sol, Master, and Dara, all the lying, all the betrayals, I mean, shit.
Yeah, and that's why that show was so interesting.
Vernestra's essentially like, hey, Sol, sorry you had to take one for the team, but you're dead, and now we can keep burying my problems with my former apprentice. So they're not always clean-cut, and quite frankly, a lot of us found the Acolyte to be interesting because it was not a clean-cut Jedi type of moral story. So I think this one is almost ringing true here a little bit. All right. Let's wrap this thing up here, and we'll move on to the fan segment. A nice little short show, might even come in under 2 hours, which should earn us some form of trophy or medal ceremony. All right, so the last thing to kind of stew on here as we discuss is Star Wars better without the Jedi? I think the AI nailed this one, by the way. I mean, some people's eyes are like, look at this dude. The one dude behind the green guy, look at his fucking face, man. What drugs did that guy do before he sat down?
His eyes fell out of his head and everything.
I love it. I don't give a flying shit. We even have people like, oh, you guys are using it. It's like, hey, wake up. Like, if you don't use it, you're literally going to be eliminated at this point in time. I'm not kidding. So I don't feel bad anymore. But here's our last point to make here, as we are trying to determine if Star Wars is better without the Jedi in it. We're just talking about stories, that is. But audience burnout on Jedi lore, my friend. Have we seen too many Order 66 flashbacks and Jedi Temple scenes? Is there fatigue setting in? And is that pushing fans toward this more non-Jedi content? What do you think? Are we a little burnt out on the Jedi shit and seeing their past and how they fucked up?
I think it's that the stories of the Jedi and Force users and stuff like that have just been really similar across all of the media. Like, it's getting to a point where it's like, yeah, we understand who the Jedi are, and like we understand what they do, and we understand their tenets. So it's like, I don't think it's the Jedi in particular. It's the storytelling around the Jedi, and like, again, going back to the Acolyte, which finally took a different stance at like telling a Jedi story. Like, did it piss some people off? 100%. Like, but when you do something differently and you tell a story or you tell a narrative in a different way, that is going to happen. It is going to happen, especially after the expectation of the storytelling around that group has been established for as long as it has. So like, people are both getting burnt out on it and also don't want to see it change. Because why? People hate change. People as a group hate change. But it's really fun as an individual to see something different. So I do think that like, if the next Jedi, like if the next trilogy comes out and it's like, we're going to rebuild the Jedi Order the exact same way that it was built in the Grand Republic, and guess what's going to happen? There's going to be bad guy Sith. People are going to be like, I feel like I've seen this before, and they're probably going to be a little like, they'll be like, oh, cool, more, and then they'll get burnt out on it for sure. Like, I think that the presentation of the Jedi has been very consistent over the last 40 years, and I think it needs a shakeup. And I think that it needs a shakeup because in the last time that you told a story, the Jedi weren't even around long enough for you to see them on screen. Like, the Jedi Order that Luke was trying to build failed so fast that it didn't even make the movie.
They don't even get a story.
Yeah.
Like, they got some shitty four issue comic book run.
Yeah, like it didn't even make the movie cut. Like, so I do think that what needs to happen is like the Jedi. I don't think it's the Jedi as a group. I think it's like you need to find different ways to tell stories around them. You need to find different ways to present them to the galaxy, and you need to find ways to reinvent them so they don't feel stale. Like, it's never like, you can't say like, is this fictional group being burnt out on? It's like, no, the people who are telling stories about this fictional stories that are the same.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, no. So I think this one is definitely an issue that leads to Star Wars stories with Jedi in them maybe not being as engaging because we've kind of been there, done that. Let's not do it again type of thing. All right.
Yeah, like there's plenty of stories you can tell about the Jedi that are super fucking awesome and really highlight.
But we can't do it, Nick, because they were from books, and we'll never bring these Legends characters in. Because why do that? Why give fans what they want? You know what I mean?
I mean, because here's why: when you give fans what they want, they complain anyway. So why listen to fans?
Of course. All right, so that's that. I guess it's down to you all to figure out, is Star Wars better with or without the Jedi? If you're watching the live stream, go ahead and shoot up your final verdict. Here's what I'll say, and it's just because I'm a homer, but even though a lot of these points make sense to me, I still kind of prefer my Star Wars with a little bit of Force and Jedi in there. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I do like Andor. I really do. But I like Mando. I really do. But none of you can tell me that the top scene in Mando isn't Luke's save in S2E8. It just is. It is. It's one of the greatest Star Wars moments of all time. We were all sitting there doing the Leonardo DiCaprio, pointing at the TV. Some of us might have been crying. It was a brilliant moment, and it was because of a Jedi. So,
yeah. And I think.
How about you, Nick? Are you still need Jedi in your stories, or are you'd be fine without them?
Here's the thing. If Jedi didn't exist in Star Wars would be any other generic, like, space saga. It would be Firefly, or it would be Babylon 5, or it would be any of these other, like, it would be Star Trek, like, with a different color on it. Like, what makes Star Wars unique, and even for those of you out there who are huge Andor fans, and I know there's a lot of them, the reason that Andor is as powerful as it is because that what they're standing up to is the Emperor and Darth Vader, who are two big-ass Force users. And that if it was just some Joe Schmo government bro who's running the Empire who had no power, the shit is not as interesting because what they're up against. Like that is what makes it powerful.
Give us our Jedi, goddammit.
And like that's the thing is like, oh, those two bros who took down all of the Jedi that were just in this galaxy less than 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
Bums.
Like, we're going against these two dudes. That's what makes it feel overwhelming. If your enemy is some fat guy sitting in a throne room who has no power other than to say that, oh, he took over this government with a war force that he made. It's like, well, we'll just make a fucking war force of our own and come at you. But they have command of powerful Force users at their behest, which makes Andor seem as wild as it is because what they're standing up to. So just keep that in mind when it's like, oh, but Force users aren't in Andor. It's like Force users colored the entire picture of Andor. And now you're seeing what it takes for regular people to stand up to Force user people, which is what makes Andor special.
Boom.
So,
look at that.
Yeah.
I literally have nothing to add. I think that was a fantastic exclamation point to this segment. This one seemed to go over a little bit better than last week's. People didn't completely fall asleep and die. So we appreciate those of you that stayed awake this time. What are we going on here from Red 6 Down? Is it something we can actually read? Yes, Rogue One and Andor have been on par with the GOAT OT, making them GOAT as well. Praise Gareth Edwards and Tony Gilroy. All right.
I think Gareth does not get enough credit for that as well.
He gets shit on all the time. Like he made the Creator, he makes good movies. Yeah. So
he does. He makes some good stuff.
Even his Godzilla is good. The movie that got him Rogue One.
And he wrote 95% of Rogue One, which is nuts.
He ain't got Lord in his name though. He doesn't have the title of Lord like Tony. So
Lord Gareth sounds good.
They were like, get out of here, dude. You did all the heavy lifting. Now we're gonna let Tony come in here and glaze it up a little bit.
This guy write the Darth Vader scene.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I know how to make this better. I'll just bring in Darth Vader. Like, okay, you fucking cheater. Yeah, so actually Tony came out this week, Nick, and he's like, listen, I know full well there is no Andor without Mandalorian Grogu. Okay, so he gets it. He knows they set the stage for Star Wars TV, and Grogu himself has a little bit of that Force juice, so here we go.
Indeed he does.
What's Red 6 Down saying here? Why do you think they're making the Mandalorian Grogu before Rey's new Jedi Order? Back to the common folk. Let's go.
Because Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are on the Lucasfilm payroll, and they write it.
They get shit done.
Write it. They don't have to bring in different writers to write it.
The Rey movie is out in left field, and who knows where that's ever going to be.
If the Rey movie was written by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, that would have been done 3 years ago.
Yeah, I don't even think they listen to Kathy anymore. They're like, all right, yep, whatever you say, boss, we're just going to go ahead and actually make content and not get on stage and talk about making content. So there is that. All right, my friends, it is time to move into this week's fan segment. We do it every week. The way to get involved, it's twofold. We have question of the week. which we post on the social, so Instagram, Discord, YouTube. You just got to be paying attention and respond. And the top 5 Star Wars fan artists of the week, which young Nick curates through our Instagram account if you tag us at StarWarsTime.show. So let me do a little this, a little of that. We'll get the question up. We always theme the question around our main topic, so we ask the fans, hey fans, what's one of your favorite non-Jedi stories?
All right, good stuff. So we'll see. I think that some people may have missed the boat on this one, but we'll
More
see.
than likely, we can't trust everyone actually knows how to read and process the written word these days. So here we go.
League says, I'm with Dank Ferric Toys on this, with Rogue One, Andor, and Mandalorian. I'll add the story arc in TLJ with Admiral Holdo and her sacrifice.
I guess we did ask Jedi specifically, so Vader doesn't count.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I get, like Rogue One doesn't count. I mean, Andor and Mandalorian. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Yeah. I mean, TLJ is a hard one. If you're looking at individual story arcs, then yes, I love the Holdo story arc, that individual piece in TLJ for sure. I think it's strong. And she was not colored, like she didn't interact with a Jedi in her arc. Well, I mean, that's not true because Leia, but still, you can discount that.
Was Leia Jedi? Did she actually never finish? So can we call her one?
She never finished.
Can we call her one?
But she...
What's a Jedi anyways these days, Nick?
Yeah, she flew back into that ship.
Yeah, there you go. She's Superman space, so she must be a Jedi.
She made it back in
or
somehow.
Just a Skywalker, literally.
Yeah. 2797 Studios, Bat says it didn't focus on a Jedi, but included
Bat.
a really bad one. That's what I'm saying.
Bat,
like
this one doesn't count, bro.
Battle of Umbara will always be my favorite. I personally think it turned the table for the clones. After that, they never truly trusted Jedi. That is completely focused on a Jedi. Like the entire arc exists because a Jedi started to kill his.
Yeah, he hated clones and hated the Jedi, and he acted like a dickhead.
So that is completely focused on a Jedi.
And now I know why Bat didn't show up today. He's too embarrassed after that.
Because of a Jedi. Good try there.
He tried to like caveat it in there with the capital focus, but we rejected that shit at the rim, bro.
Yeah. Blocked. All right. Next up. Black Series Natural Light says, being a fan of Scum and Villainy, I really loved the Clone Wars episodes where Boba was seeking revenge and teamed up with Aurra Sing and crew. Technically, Jedi are involved, but the focus is on a character development of young Boba. I mean, I agree with this. Like, it's told in context of him, in the Clone Wars and being of that time and stuff. But it was
these are all kind of itchy, man. Like they're just
it's like, but that's the truth of it. That's the truth of it is that
there's not a lot. They're really like if you think about it, there's not a lot of Star Wars content that is Jedi lists. It's Andor, Bad Batch, parts of Mandalorian. Yeah. That's about it.
Yeah, it's like everything. Like that's what
even Book of Boba Fett had a Jedi in almost an entire episode.
Yeah, it's like everything in Star Wars is told in reference to the Jedi, whether it is in reference to their fall and because the Jedi fell, we are in this situation that we're in now where two different powerful Force users are now reigning over us, or in reference to the Jedi are the peacekeepers and police force of the galaxy.
Well, you know what? It's fan segment. We'll let it slide, but it's a little lazy here. A little lazy, everybody.
Dank Ferric Toys. So this is who League referenced in her response. Says in this order, only canon stuff.
Oh, he's even coming with some non-canon. Hold up.
Yeah, Andor, number 2. The Mandalorian, season 1, number 3.
That checks. That's good.
Non-canon, Dark Forces first game. Okay, the 501st story in the original Battlefront 2, which was great. And honorific mention to the Umbara arc. You cannot say like Umbara arc in the Clone Wars only exists because a Jedi did it.
Yeah.
Like it's like that is the one. that like
Hey, everyone,
everything else
Pong
that
Krell
Nick
is a
says,
Jedi.
is he not a Jedi? Did I miss something?
Jedi. He's a Jedi.
Yeah. Did I miss something? He's a bad Jedi, but he's still a Jedi.
Oh man, they love their Umbar arc, and I don't blame them. We're not making fun of anyone. It's just like Nick said, everyone kind of missed the boat on this question. Mando Pirate nailed it. There you go.
Yeah, Mando Pirate nailed it. But it's also hard because 99% of Star Wars stories that are told are in reference or include Jedi. So,
hey Nick, we're like we've been running out of gas, bro. Trying to get from Skeleton Crew to Andor, buddy. So it is what it is, man.
Dude, B-Mad's got a good one at the last one.
Right.
But we'll go Mando Pirate, Mandalorian season 1. There you go. Boom, good stuff. Divided Andor. That show's so good. I can't wait for season 2. Do you think we'll make it through season 2 with
100%.
Jedi? 100% we will. If Tony Gilroy brings a Jedi into Andor season 2, I will be shocked.
I think at best, you might hear a mention of something like a Force user or that the general or we heard but no, nothing.
Yeah, there's no freaking way. Michael Kramer says for me, The Mandalorian.
Alrighty.
There you go. Good stuff. And then B Mad says it's simple, really. The droid arc Clone Wars, best storytelling by far and the most entertaining.
And I'll give him that one because that is from Clone Wars, and there ain't a fucking Jedi for like 5 episodes straight, dude.
Yeah, and you remember what people were saying about that? It's like, get me out of
ready
this.
To cancel the whole damn show. And I think it's in like season 3 or 4 when Clone Wars was really gaining steam. You're just like, hold on, let's put the brakes on and spend. It's at least 4 episodes. It's more than 3. Let's spend half the fucking season, core of the season, with C-3PO and R2-D2.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yes. There were a few people who understood the assignment there, and Divided was one of them.
We got the Jar Jar man coming in. There you go. There's your Jar Jar mention. It's up on the screen. Now, go get your jar of Vaseline and sit in your corner.
Yeah, there you go. Get your jar of Vaseline.
Your jar of Vaseline.
You need to put that on your Vaseline jar there, Rory.
Does anyone actively just still use a tub of Vaseline? Or is that was like our parents' generation thing, right?
Yeah, that was like, now there's so many more things that you can use.
Dude.
For
my dad, it was a fix for everything. Oh, it got burnt, put Vaseline on it. My asshole's sore, put Vaseline on it.
Dude, it's like, now I don't even know if they sell I'm sure they do, but like
they do, and I've always known it's just petroleum jelly, but have you ever huffed Vaseline? It literally smells like gasoline. It is legit petroleum.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, like, that was just like a catch-all. Like, you need, whatever you needed it for.
Exactly. I remember we always had a jar of Vaseline on the back of the toilet. It was like, what is my old man doing up here? Like, he's blowing out his brown eye, man. He's like always had a sore ass, and the jelly, I guess, helped kind of keep that unshaved.
Bad diet. Leak says they call it Vicks, but Vicks
is Vicks though, isn't it?
Menthol petroleum gel, menthol Vaseline. I put that on sometimes my chest if I got a bad cold or something like that.
Smith, topical cancer. That's what I think. That's pretty. I don't know how rubbing gasoline on your skin is ultimately good for you. And the only reason I'm talking about petroleum jelly, it's obviously not what I use anymore to take care of myself, because that was a mess. I learned that early on as a kid. I was like, don't do this again. When I busted my head to kind of keep scabs from drying up, which can lead to worse scars, I was putting petroleum jelly on that thing to keep it all soft and mushy.
Yeah.
And I just sit there. I'm like, am I at a gas station? Am I at a gas station? Like, no, it's your fucking face, dude, because you have petrol on it. All right. Well, that's always fun.
All right. Good stuff there. Thank you for everybody. Or thank you to everybody who completed the assignment as
basically assigned. Divided. That was it.
and answered the question of the week. Now we're moving on to the top 5 Star Wars.
I just gave it away. I just gave some of the shots away.
Oh no!
Oops.
Spoilers.
Oops.
To get involved, as Matt said earlier, make sure to tag us at StarWarsTime.show on your Instagram Star Wars post. That's how you fall into the tag feed, and that's how I pick them out. So, to kick off the top 5 this week, we got B. Dixon Photo giving us a shot of the dude we
That's
were
right.
just talking about not too long ago.
We were talking about this guy in his Jedi list mostly series.
Yeah. We got Din Djarin here stabbing that Darksaber through a dark.
Too bad he needed a Jedi to really save the day.
Yeah, I know. Well, this guy can barely hold that sword. Like that's why
Well,
you need the Jedi
he
to
was.
come in.
This is the best part. Now I think I understand why it pisses you off so bad. In season 1, he's pretty much using it fine, and then the armor's like, oh, dude, you can't use it because you're not, you don't believe it or whatever. Yeah. It's like, well. He seemed to be able to whip it around pretty fine earlier, but oh well.
Yeah, it's like when he just thought it was a glowy black sword, it was fine.
Didn't seem to have mystical weight, but once you put that in his head, yep, sure enough.
Yeah, it's like just goes to show you the power of perception, apparently. But awesome shot here from Benjamin Dixon.
It's the lighting for me that nails this. Like having the sparks kind of illuminate Din, that's a nice touch.
It is super nice touch here. B.Dixon Photo on Instagram. Make sure to follow. Good stuff. Another.
Whoa, look at this. Nick has a theme going this week.
He's back, but this time there's Force users in it.
You see the ball? Stick it up your ass.
This one's not as good because there's Jedi in it or Force users in it, so it's not as good of a photo, apparently.
That's right.
All right, so what we got here is a scene recreation from Mandalorian when we got little Grogu finally learning how to use the Force in different ways from his you could say his first teacher.
That's right.
In Ahsoka Tano. Right. So you can see Ahsoka.
Well,
there in the background.
He did have some teachers at the temple.
Jedi, yes.
That's like, I guess that's
people forget about.
Yeah, I don't want to get into this, but. Do you think they give us a Grogu flashback in the movie since we're probably not going to get a season 4 and it really hasn't been fully told yet?
Dude, you got to,
right? You have to, because at this point, he's on a Naboo ship with Kelleran Beck, and that's all we know.
Yeah, like give us something like what was he doing pre?
How did he end up with a gang of Niktos? Like come on, like how'd that happen?
Yeah, it's like I feel like we do need like almost. Just like a Grogu show, not a Mandalorian and Grogu show, where look, I'm always the one who's like, get me out of Clone Wars prequel content era.
And you even hate Grogu, so this is an epiphany to me. It's like, holy shit, Nick's not just ready to spit venom at him.
To say a word, one word.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're hung up on that. He's not talking yet. Bro, he's gonna be spitting game in the movie, and we're gonna finally see his full backstory.
I hope so. But hey, I mean, this shot here. I mean, the diorama that Mando Mugshots is using. This is from @Mando_Mugshots on Instagram. Fantastic
always quality
setup
work here.
All around. I love the use of the background blur for Ahsoka. You have Mando and Grogu in the foreground, perfect positioning, good use of props. I mean, overall, just a fantastic setup here.
Hey, you know what I learned today, Nick? Someone has bought merch, and it's Divided Skywalker.
Oh my gosh!
I don't even think it registered a sale in our Teespring. I just think they take all the money since we don't sell anything. So.
Nice. What did you get? Divided?
Apparently, she's had it for a while, wears it out, and people are like, "Hey, that's a cool shirt." So, hey, that's a ringing endorsement. If you on the stream right now, head over to StarWarsTime.net or grab them right from YouTube. We've got T-shirts, hoodies, long sleeves. I even think we had a mask up there from COVID.
We did.
It's the SWT Teespring shop. Check it out today. There you go.
Hey, it's nice to know that you can still actually get stuff from that T-shirt. There you go.
All right.
Sick.
You know what, Divided? I don't even have any gear.
we had the hat.
I still wear my hat. But I probably should buy a hoodie at least now before we kill the site next year.
I like the way that the hoodies look too. I'm a big fan.
Maybe
of
you and I should buy some of our own merch. All right, dude. Let's get back.
All right. Next up, we got War's Perspective, and War's Perspective is giving us A really cool shot. It's like he like built out a scene in the captions here. I'm not going to read them all, but the scene in the captions breaks down what's happening here. This character Valko as a part of the Hollow Helms.
Nick, are you taking Valko as a clone that has kind of become part of the Rebel Alliance, but still likes to wear parts of their gear?
That's what I was wondering about, because it's like there's still parts of the gear, but
it's got the helmet, pauldrons, gloves, and knee pad, and the belt.
And so maybe it is. Maybe it's like defected clones that are now fighting on the side of the rebellion.
It's Echo.
Valko is one of them.
This is what Echo started doing after Bad Batch. That's Echo.
There we go.
Or no, that's Cody. That's what he's doing.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the one that we need the answers about, right? So it's Cody. This Valko is Cody. But I mean the setup here is fantastic. I mean the use of the practical environmental effects.
War perspective is pretty good at the natural light scene. There's no doubt.
Yeah, fantastic. So good setup here, good execution here. From
it is a cool custom too. I mean, listen, you strap a stormtrooper helmet on any type of human body, and they tend to look a bit cooler than the non-helmet version.
Yeah, awesome stuff.
We should start wearing stormtrooper helmets to do the podcast.
Hey,
so the whole time it's like this.
Okay.
Hey Nick, what do you think of Andor episode 1, dude?
Authentic. It would be authentic to the stormtrooper experience.
I'm Darth Vader. All right. War perspective, new on the scene, or at least new sharing to us. This toy photography shiz.
There you go.
Oh my God,
All
this is a classic.
This one here, we are talking about Burkhead toys.
He's done two with this character, Nick, and they're both bangers. The other one he was doing like his like on the cantina in the cantina.
Yeah. Oh my God. So what we're looking at is Pee Wee Herman making his way onto the forest moon of Endor and has stolen a speeder bike along with two of the Ewoks. I mean, one of them is
Wicket. I think it's Wicket and Paplu here.
Paplu? Yeah, that's what I thought too. Yeah, Wicket and Paplu. They're tagging along with Pee Wee Herman as zipping and zooming throughout the forest moon of Endor.
The face on this Pee Wee figure is absolutely perfect. He's like, ha ha, you know.
Dude,
I
honestly,
love fucking Pee Wee Herman, man.
Yeah, like the face is what got me, dude. The face is so perfectly built on this figure. Like, I don't know if it's a custom. I don't know what the hell is going on here.
I think this Pee Wee figure has recent released from NECA. So I think this is all legit. And NECA does sometimes include multiple heads and hands and whatever. But I mean, I almost have to get this figure because I can't explain to you how big Pee Wee was in my youth. I mean, I caught
the tail end of Pee Wee for sure.
It consumed my father too. So I mean, he would record him when I was at CCD, and we'd watch it, and he watched all the movies. Even the movie from a few years back that he did on Netflix was pretty good. But I think Pee Wee Herman is one of the greatest pop culture characters ever created. I always felt bad for Paul. What happened to him? I mean, it does appear he was closeted his whole life, and then obviously he had that scene in the jerk shack that kind of derailed him because he was a kid's performer, and once you get caught jerking off, you can't really do that anymore. But Pee Wee Herman, to me, he's one of those characters that just took over the zeitgeist. I mean, he was everything. I know you are, but what am I? I mean, all those. Oh man. Such a good character, and this shot is just supreme, Burkhead. I don't know if you're listening or you're going to catch it on a replay. Excellent idea. Excellent idea, dude. It's so good.
All right, and to close out this week's top 5, we got Dank Farron.
This is great.
But it sucks because there's a Jedi in it, guys.
That's right.
Can't be good.
Fuck Jedi.
That's why it's number 5. But no, I mean, this is a absolutely killer shot from Dank Farrick Toys. This is the showdown between Obi-Wan Kenobi.
It's very cinematic,
and Darth Vader,
right? Very cinematic.
Dude, just super cinematic. I love the split between the blue and lightning on Obi's side, the red and lightning on Vader's side, the cracked helmet, the posing. Everything about this shot is just absolutely killer. I mean, it's so cool to see how Dank put this together. and really made this pop. I mean, if you go to that last scene, you can see it's
yeah, let's do that because it'll show you like just as Nick. I don't know if you said vision, but the vision that someone like Dank needs to turn this. I mean, look, it looks silly. There's like a pixelated screen back there. There's no clarity. Obi-Wan's got a piece of plastic up his butthole. And then just to see the magic Dank can work through, post-processing, knowing how to pose and wipe, it's great. Dank's one of my personal favorites. All their shots are usually super crispy. They almost always go for the 4:5 ratio, so you get that nice tall, extended kind of vertical access in a shot. So I always like when you pick the Dank. The one I was thinking you might have grabbed this week was a Kill Cutter dropped a new one, and it was Iron Spider versus Maul, which is kind of a neat concept. But I
did see that one too. But
no,
there was a lot of really strong ones this week, honestly.
Yeah, DankFerrick.toys, a great follow if you're into Star Wars toy photography on Instagram.
There we go. So, hey, that's the end of the top 5. That's the end of the show for this week. Thank you to everybody for showing up.
Woot, woot.
And, Matt, go ahead.
All right, my friends, at least through the rest of 25, we'll tell you to don't forget about StarWarsTime.net. That's where you can find our content and the podcast, at least the audio-only version, if you're into that. Yes, we do pump this out to most of the predominant podcast channels as well. If you are just a podcast listener, we'd also love for you to give the live stream a try, 5:30 East on Wednesdays, or as close as we can get, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show, which you would have found if you go to StarWarsTime.net. So just keep beating that drum for us, people. Numbers have been a little low. We're in a little bit of a lull because we haven't had new Star Wars since January. Hopefully that picks up in 2 weeks with Andor. Next week, you can guarantee yourselves we're going to be sitting down here doing our tried and true pre-season show that we do for all new Star Wars shows, and that is Matt and Nick's Once In Predictions for Andor Season 2. What do we want to see happen? And what do we predict that is going to happen? So if you like soothsaying, speculation, theory crafting, we will be putting those hats on again next week before we morph into the expert level Star Wars content breaker downers that we are. All right. We're going to have to keep young Nick motivated to get through this slog because it is going to be that by definition. This is not going to be easy for people like Nick and I. In fact, it may kill us both. Okay? So keep us in your prayers. There's always time for Star Wars time. And if you listen to our Little Silly Show or watch our Little Silly Show, that thing called the Force will be with you always. Damn it, I always forget if I don't switch us back to the normal screen, it doesn't go away. See ya.